This question comes from the first AP Chem exam. It's the first free response question. It's the one where you're adding copper and iodine to make copper iodide, and you're trying to ultimately determine the empirical formula. So this is the question right here. And it gives me this data table, and 1A says, state how you would use the data above to determine each of the following. And what I see that's so important is this state how you would use the data above. So it doesn't actually tell you to use the numbers. Now, they will give you credit if you use the numbers, but don't do things that they don't ask you to do on the AP Chem test. So how would I find the number of moles of iodine? I'm going to go back up and read. A clean strip of copper metal is weighed accurately. It is suspended in a test tube containing iodine vapor generated by heating solid iodine. A white compound forms on the strip of the copper, coating it uniformly. The strip with the adhering compound is weighed. So I'm going to actually draw a picture of that. Here I have my copper strip. And then here, after, I have my copper and copper iodide compound on it. And it tells me the mass of the clean copper strip, and it tells me the mass of the copper strip and compound, and then it tells me what happens when I wash it. So when I wash it, it would be like what's left of copper that didn't react. Because I'm thinking, if I have this copper and copper iodide, and then I wash it, the copper iodide will come off, and then I'm going to be left with the copper that didn't react. So those are the three numbers I have. So how would I use the data to find the number of moles of iodine that reacted? Well, obviously, the number of moles of iodine that are reacted are coming from this number somehow, but I have to get rid of the rest. So if I figure out the mass of the copper strip and the compound, so this one, let's give these numbers. So if I take number 2, that's the copper strip and the compound, and I figure out the mass of the original strip, so that's minus number 1, then that's going to tell me that everything that's there is copper iodide. And that's going to give me the mass of the iodine that's reacted. Now, if I want to figure out moles of iodine, so this will give me mass of iodine. Moles, I would have to divide by the molar mass. So for iodine, that's 126.9. So my answer would say the number of moles of iodine equals the mass of the copper strip and compound minus the mass of the original clean copper strip divided by the molar mass of iodine, which is 126.9 grams per mole. Then they go on to ask me, what's the number of moles of copper that reacted? So I found how much iodine reacted. Now I have to figure out how much copper reacted. Well, I know that the copper that reacted came from this copper, and then this is how much is left. So basically, I figure out how much copper I started with and subtract the amount that's left. So this would be part A1, and A2, I'm going to say the same thing. So moles of copper equals original copper strip minus the mass of the copper strip after washing Now, if you're wondering where I'm getting these words, where am I getting mass of the copper strip after washing? That's what they actually say in the data table, and it's really important to use those numbers. And then this whole thing, we got to divide by the molar mass of copper. You could either write 63.54 or molar mass of